Hello grade 9s, so we're going to start with lesson 4 of lockdown, week 2, hope everything's okay. Please make sure you're revising my videos of other factorization methods, highest common factor, difference of two squares and common brackets. Please make sure you're revising those so you don't forget those because they are important and they're going to be used over and over again in this section. Right, so we're going to move on to our next topic, which is factorization by grouping of pairs. Let's have a look. So we look at this expression over here and we ask ourselves, out of this whole expression, is there anything common in all of them? And if you look at it carefully, there's nothing common in all of them. But in the first two, there are something common. There's a common x. And if you look at the second one, there's a common y. So we're going to pull out a common out of these two, and then we're going to pull out a common out of those two. So my highest common factor here is x, and I'm left with a plus b. And my common y, highest common factor of y, and I'm left with a plus b. And then what do I pull out? I pull out my a plus b, and I'm left with my x plus y. That's use your common brackets. Highest common factor by pulling out a highest common bracket. So look again at the second example. Here's my second example. I've got nothing common in all of these. But in my first two, I group them together. I've got something common, which is my common x. I'm left with a plus b. And my second one, it's a common 2. Highest common factor of 2. And I'm left with a plus b. So what do I pull out now? I pull out my common bracket, a plus b, and whatever I'm left with goes into the other bracket. Let's look at the next example. Next example, there's two ways of doing it. So I look over here, I've got a common a highest common factor of a that I can pull out over here. And over here, I've got a highest common factor of b. So I pull out my a, and what am I left with? X minus 3y. And over here, I'll keep it as a negative, and I'll take out a b, and I'm left with x, because a positive times a negative gives me a negative. But over here is very important. I'm trying to get a positive, so it has to be a negative, and it matches the bracket as well, because a negative times a negative gives me that positive. And I need 3y. And are the brackets the same? Yes, they are. So I pull out the common bracket, x minus 3y, and a minus b is in the other bracket. But now something important, or something you can see, some of your kids might have picked this up, that this and this there's something common in both those two as well. So I'll show you in this example over here, which is next to it, so it's exactly the same. I'm going to use these two as the common one. I'm going to put them together. So I'm just going to, what I'm doing now is I'm setting it up next to each other. And I'm keeping the sign with it, but I'm just manipulating it now. So that now, see, now it's different. Now I'm going to pull out what's common here that I can pull out. I can pull out a common x, and I'm left with a minus b. I keep a negative, and what am I going to pull out? I'm going to pull out a 3y, and what am I left with? A, and then I have to get a negative, so it has to be, let's just check here, sorry, I copied it down incorrectly. I put the bx, that's supposed to be plus 3by, I copied it down incorrectly, so, because it has to be the same, and it's minus b, because a negative and a negative gives me a positive, and then 3by. So it's that times that. And then do I have common brackets? Yes, I do. So I put out my common bracket, a minus b. And what am I left with? X minus 3y. Let's check if it's exactly the same as this one. So you see now the two answers? Exactly the same. A minus b, x minus 3y, x minus 3y. All I did was I saw, some of you will see those two are common. But some of you be safe like me and just take out of the first two what's common in the first two. So there's two ways of doing it. And let's look at the last example. The last example, I'm going to show you what you're all going to do. You're all going to think you're going to have to pull something out of here. But if you do, there's nothing common between these two over here. So let me show you what I mean. So if I pull out a common x over here, what am I left with? I'm left with x squared minus 2. And then look here, is there anything common between those two? No, there's not. So then you're stuck. So then you have to do what you did in the example before it. You have to group this one with this one. And don't forget the signs. So let's have a look. So I'm rewrite it, x cubed minus x squared minus 2x plus 2. What can I pull out that's common in both those. X, but how many x's? X squared, eh? So I pull out my x squared, and what am I left with? X minus 1. Let me show you what I did over here. X times x squared gives me x cubed. And negative 1 times x squared gives me negative x squared. Then let's look at that one over here. So I keep it as a negative, and I pull out the 2. So I'm left with x minus 1. Let's check myself. X times that negative 2 gives me a negative 2x. And negative 1 times negative 2 gives me positive 2. Do I have common brackets? Yes, I do. So I pull out my common bracket, and I leave the x squared minus 2. Very important that you check that whenever you got a square, there's not difference of 2 squares, eh? Because if it was difference of 2 squares, what would you do again? You'd go factorize further, but it's not difference of 2 squares. So that's your final answer. But if this bracket was x squared minus 1, what will I have to do with it? I have to factorize at a difference of 2 squares. I have to go another step, which will come out in your test. So this takes practice. I'm going to put your work is up in Teams in lesson 4. Please go find the work, go and do it. And there's examples before the exercise to go look at other examples. So you've got my examples and the book's examples. Good luck, and let me know if you need any more help. Cheers.